of authentic materials in classrooms, second language classrooms to teach culture. Now, what are authentic sources? Authentic material or authentic sources are sources that are used in actual life, and engagement with authentic materials allows the learners to engage with the cultural experience of that language. It's extremely important because it allows gives a window to the learners regarding how things are done in a specific culture, and they also provide a rich source of information, a point of reference which can trigger discussions about culture. However, having said that, we need to keep in mind that when authentic materials are used most of the time in adult life, they are for adults. If they are used in a native culture, they are for people who already are experts in that culture, who already know a second language. So at times as teachers, we might need to adapt those materials a little bit, but please, so that they may suit the age and proficiency level of our learners. Now, having said that, when you adapt the material, we have to be very careful, because with the adaptation, we do not want to lose the authenticity of the given material. So we can make it less, we can make it short, we can pick and choose some phrases, but we don't simplify what is being given, how the language is constructed, because then it does not remain authentic at all. And then it also does not perform the function of cultural discussion that we want it to perform. Now, what are the different sources we can use which are authentic and which can help us to teach our learners culture of the target language? We can use films. So when you're using films, they are interesting for the children also. For instance, if you choose a kids movie or a film which is intended for the children, you would realize that the way the parents interact with the children, for instance, in the Western context, for instance, in UK, is very different with how we address our children in Pakistani context. So in a Western context, or in a UK context to be more specific, children are treated as young adults. Things are carefully explained to them. They can ask questions, they can challenge the ideas presented by the adults, and you have to convince little children about why they are doing a certain thing. Now, a similar thing in Pakistani context, you will have the parents in which actually parents simply command the children to obey them. They just tell the children to do, so they are not given the right to question. Their questions are silenced. Especially how the parents respond to the children's questions is very different in Pakistan, and it is very different in UK. So those things can also be made a point of discussion. And then you can use news broadcasts, how the news are presented in an Asian context and in a Western context. You can use television shows. You can use websites, what is displayed on websites. Maybe if we are comparing an Asian website, if we are talking about Pakistan, we might not have enough resources that are there on Urdu websites. Now, if websites is a problem, let's talk about newspapers. So you have these newspapers in English, in Pakistan also, and you have newspapers in Urdu also. So you can also do a comparison of what type of news appear in Urdu newspapers, what type of news appear in English newspapers. You can compare the English dailies here, English dailies abroad. You can use photographs. Photographs show this body language, magazines, newspapers, restaurant menu, how the food is served, what are the expectations from the guests, and any other printed material. Having said that, what is very important to be taught to the students is non-verbal behavior. Non-verbal behavior would mean what is the appropriate way for using certain gestures. Certain gestures can be misinterpreted in the target culture. We need to understand what type of non-verbal behavior is acceptable or non-acceptable or unacceptable in a given culture, how much close or further off from another person can we stand or should we stand, should we be holding hands or not holding hands. Small things like this are effective strategies for teaching communication skills, teaching language to be used effectively in a target culture.